couple month hiatus that I took, I kind of got caught up with school, and the last video I made kind of decided to get corrupted, which isn't great. So I'm here now. The combine just happened. There's been a lot of things going down lately, so I thought that I'd sit down and make my first actual mock draft. I'm gonna spend the next week actually doing positional rankings and stuff, and I should drop like videos on my personal opinions on each position and like the top 10 players at each position. I should do that. I'm definitely gonna make a video about who I think the top 50 players are in the draft at some point. Sooner than later, obviously. It is currently March 9th. We are exactly 50 days out of the draft. The Seahawks have pick number 9, which is huge, seeing as they had no draft picks. Obviously, they don't have Russell Wilson or Bobby Wagner. Franchise tagging has happened. We just saw Mike Williams of the Chargers get an extension. So a lot has changed, and with the combine happening, we have a better idea of how good players are going to be, and I've watched more tape on these guys now. I still haven't sat down and done perfect prospect tape studies or anything like that yet. I'll get to that soon. School's actually kind of rough, if you'd believe that. But I picked midterm season to start actually caring, which is great. But for example, with all that franchise tagging, at pick number 1, the Jaguars, they just franchise tagged Cam Robinson, who's a tackle. What does that mean? Because, a lot of people had them taking Evan Neal or Ikem Okongwu first overall. Obviously, they still could. I wouldn't be surprised to see them still take a tackle, because franchise tagging a guy usually just means a 1-year extension, and then they might walk anyways. And if you're the Jaguars thinking long-term, maybe that's not that big of a deal to you. I still have them going edge. I think Aiden Hutchinson's probably the best player in this class. It's either him or Kyle Hamilton for me. And then probably Kayvon Thibodeau. I think Aiden Hutchinson, you take the best player in the draft class at 1 at a position of need. At number 2, I'm going to have the Lions take Kayvon Thibodeau. A lot of people have him dropping in the draft. I don't. I don't think that he should. And I don't think that he will. And then I'm going to pick Kyle Hamilton 3rd overall. I've already recorded this once, so if I'm speed running through this, I'm sorry. My webcam decided to corrupt, so I hope it's working now. At number 4, I'm going to have the Jets take Ikem. I don't think he's the best tackle in this class. I think Evan Neal is a better tackle. But Ikem can play guard. He's more versatile. Teams seem to love those guys that you can shift around wherever you want, and Ikem's more versatile in that way than Evan Neal is. Even though I don't think he's the best tackle in the draft. I think the Giants, however, will jump all over Evan Neal at 5. That's my top 5. I think the top 5 players in this class truly are pretty interchangeable. I think that they're probably. I think that one 5-player block I think is gonna be right. I don't really see anybody else sneaking into the top 5. But again, I think the order can change. I've seen all 5 of these players first overall in mock drafts. The favorite right now is Ikem to go first overall, I'm pretty sure. Him and Aiden Hutchinson. But I think those 5 will go in some order. I think all 5 of those guys are a class above everybody else in this class, honestly. And then if you are the Panthers, before it corrupted, I said it, and I'll say it again. To me, this is either Charles Cross or this is Malik Willis. I have Malik Willis as QB2, but I think he comes off the board at 6th overall as the first quarterback. He has a higher ceiling than Kenny Pickett does. He also has a lower floor. You don't really know what you're going to get out of Malik Willis at the next level. He tested really well. He's very athletic. He reminds me of Cam Newton. And Matt Rule, his job's kind of on the line, if I'm going to be honest. And Malik Willis could be a make-or-break pick. He could be very good at the next level, but again, there's a lot of variables to Malik Willis that we don't really know yet. Which to me radiates Panthers. I think the Panthers will take a chance on him. And I think he's worth it, especially with his how his character is. I think that's about where we'll see him go. Now, if you're the Giants, you already got your tackle. To me, I'm going to pick David Ojabo. I like David Ojabo a lot. He might be the 3rd edge left on the board to them, but he's definitely at the top of the board for me. David Ojabo is worth a top 10 pick easily. And I think the Giants should jump on him at 7. I think we see Charles Cross come off the board at 8. Charles Cross is very good. He's not quite on the level of the other two tackles, but he is going to be a very good tackle at the next level. The thing is, a lot of these first rounders, most of them tested very well, and he's in that group. The Seahawks, I mean, even though they need O-line. Here's the thing with the Seahawks. For a second, I forgot the Russell Wilson thing because it's pretty unbelievable. But I don't think the Seahawks are looking for a quarterback in this draft class. I really don't. Them trading Russell Wilson and cutting Bobby Wagner, to me, radiates that this team is accepting a rebuild and thinking for the future. And at this spot, I don't think that you have a franchise quarterback on the board right now, and I think that they're aware of that. I don't see them going in that direction. I really, really don't. I think that they will choose to pick the best player on the board where they're at. And to me, that's Ahmad Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner tested very well. I think he should be the first cornerback off the board, easily. No question. Again, he's probably better than a lot of the guys that were taken before. He is an absolute freak. So I think at 9, he's a lengthy corner. The Seahawks love lengthy corners. I think it makes sense for him to go 9th. Now at number 10, I think I'm going to give the Jets Trayvon Walker out of Georgia. He's another, again, the only reason that a guy like Jordan Davis didn't play on the edge is because Georgia was so good. Trayvon Walker, probably the captain of that Georgia defense, he is really good. And I think it wouldn't surprise me to see him go in the top 15. I think he could definitely sneak into the top 10 like I have him doing here. Now, if you're Washington, as I record this, Carson Wentz just became part of their team, which is cool. They said that they wanted a veteran quarterback anyways. I didn't really think that they were going to draft one. It makes my Steelers have a little bit of a better chance, but I think that they take wide receiver 1 in the class here and take Jameson Williams. 2 of the best performers in the entire combine this year were Jameson Williams and Garrett Wilson, who I think are wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. They're both freaks. Okay, I'm back. My webcam decided it wanted to not cooperate, which is great. So I'm going to have to piece this together, which never works well. But anyways, as I was saying, Trent McDuffie, 12th overall, the Vikings. They need corner help pretty badly. I think he's probably the best corner on the board, except maybe Andrew Booth. But teams seem to really like Trent McDuffie, so it's hard for me to see him escaping probably the top 20. I don't know. There's still a lot to happen from here till then, but I'm going to have the Browns take an edge, and it's not going to be Jermaine Johnson. I'm going to have the Browns take George Karlaftis out of Purdue. I like Karlaftis a lot. I think he's certainly... I honestly think... I haven't done like a full case study, but I think he's probably edge 4 for me after David Ojabo. I don't know how teams are going to view him, and again, I guess technically this mock draft is supposed to be what I think the teams will do, regardless of how I feel about players. But I think George Karlaftis is definitely the best edge on the board at this point, and it's the biggest position in need for the Browns. The Ravens, I've gone kind of back and forth on this. They could go with Jermaine Johnson, I think. They could also take Andrew Booth, which makes a lot of sense to me. You know what? Yeah, actually, thinking about it a little further, it makes more sense. I think I'm going to have the Ravens take Andrew Booth. Alejandro Villanueva did just retire for the Ravens, which probably makes them a better team because he was abysmal. He was really bad for him. The only other thing that really makes sense the Ravens could take a guy like Jermaine Johnson, or they could take Jordan Davis off the board. But I think it makes more sense for them to go with a guy like Andrew Booth. I think they need corner, honestly, more than they need a D-tackle right now anyways. And I bet the Eagles, honestly, are probably pretty upset that Andrew Booth is off the board at 15 for them. By the way, also, I'm going to be making a ton of these mock drafts. Like, there's going to be a lot of them. With the Eagles, they have 15, 16, and 19. They basically have back-to-back-to-back picks. And really, what they have to contend with is, what are the Chargers and Saints going to do? And it's really unfortunate that that corner's off the board. I think this first pick, for me personally, is going to be Tyler Linderbaum, the interior O-lineman out of Iowa. Makes the most sense. They need an interior O-lineman. They need to solidify the interior of the O-line pretty badly. And he's right there for them. In this situation, I think they have to draft either an edge or a corner here. This could be where they take a chance on Derek Stingley. I'm definitely not against that. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to have them do. He tested pretty poorly at the combine. He was pretty high on boards before that. I don't know how far he's going to fall. But I think, if you need an edge rusher, maybe Jermaine Johnson won't be around, but there's a lot of edges in this class that are really good. The prospects of one of these two teams after you taking a corner are pretty high, so I think you just solidify that you can get Derek Stingley before you pick again, and then hope that edge stays on the board. Which I don't know. I think the Chargers, personally, I think their biggest need is at tackle. And Trevor Penning is still on the board at 17. I think he's definitely better than... I think he's one of those guys that's going to slide to the perfect scenario here. Because I definitely think that he's better than 17th, where he's going to probably be picked. They could do other things here. They could go with an edge. But again, I'm not high on any of these edges that are still around. And then if you're the Saints, I think it's a no-brainer for the Saints. I take that back, actually. I definitely take that back. They could go with... obviously, Garrett Wilson is still on the board. Garrett Wilson is very good. The reports right now, from what I can tell, I think they need a wide receiver. From what I can tell, they're not too sure on Michael Thomas and his timeline. Plus, I don't really know what they plan on doing at QB. They were pretty decent when Jameis Winston played. He's going to get a lot of offers elsewhere. They're currently in cap hell. I convinced myself. Yeah, I'm going to have them take Kenny Pickett. The whole cap hell thing worries me. It's hard to get... especially because obviously quarterbacks are the highest paid position. So getting a rookie quarterback on obviously his rookie deal, it might be huge for the Saints because they are in an unbelievable amount of cap hell right now. It's ridiculous. Then if you're the Eagles, they could go with an edge, like I said, not very high on the edges that are left right here. I think they take Garrett Wilson. He's a freak. Get a good wide receiver where you can, and I know the Eagles, again, have been looking for that wide receiver for a while. I'm going to get a lot of hate for... I won't get any hate because nobody watches this. I don't know if I trust the Steelers taking a QB here. I just don't know. If the top two quarterbacks are off the board, what do the Steelers do? Who knows what Matt Corral is? I like Carson Strong. Not in the first round, obviously, but I like Carson Strong. I like Matt Corral a lot, but who knows with his injury and whatnot. Desmond Ridder is kind of a Malik Willis type, but with a lower upside. I don't know what you do. You have so many other needs if you're the Steelers. Who knows? They're another one of those teams that said that they wanted to trade for a quarterback, but they haven't done it yet. 2 quarterbacks have moved, and they haven't done anything. So who knows what the Steelers do? I'm going to have the Steelers actually take Matt Corral off the board out of Ole Miss. I know he's kind of slid down boards after he got hurt in the, He got hurt in the championship, in the SEC championship, I'm pretty sure. Who knows? I like Matt Corral a lot. He was QB1 in this class for a little while. I don't think he should escape the first round, and he seems like a Pittsburgh kind of quarterback to me. He's not the most mobile in the world. He has a good arm. Again, I know the Steelers are looking for mobility. They've said that, which you might think Desmond Ridder, but I think just from a perspective of personality and what, I think Matt Corral fits Pittsburgh very well. Now, if you are the Patriots, what do you do here? You could go basically anywhere. You could solidify the O-line a little bit more. I like corner, linebacker, or safety. I'm going to have them take Devin Lloyd off the board. I'm very high on Devin Lloyd. He's another one of those guys that didn't test overly well at the combine. I had him at the time in like the top 10 range before the combine. I don't think he should escape the top 20. I really don't. Again, I don't think the combine is the like say all for a prospect either, like at all. I don't think that the combine really says that. I don't think the combine says that much about great players. It might help you solidify like some of the later round players, but I don't think that the combine is this like make or break for NFL players. Like a lot of people seem to think that it is. I think Devin Lloyd is definitely he seems like he'd be a Patriots kind of guy. The Raiders, I don't think the Raiders blink at 22. I really don't. I think if Jordan Davis is still on the board all the way over here, Jordan Davis is definitely worth a higher pick. It's just who's going to pick a D tackle that high. I could see it. One of these teams that needs an edge could take Jordan Davis. I think you can develop Jordan Davis to play edge. He's 6'6". He's obviously a freak of nature. He has the athleticism to play edge. He just never really had to at Georgia because Georgia was that good. He's probably a top 15 player for me. Maybe even top 10. Once I sit down and watch tape, I'll let you know. But he is certainly a polarizing prospect that I could see him going a lot higher than 22, depending on what teams value. If teams value him as an edge, as a potential edge guy, he's going to go a lot sooner. But if they value him as just a D tackle, he's probably going to fall a little bit because of just positional value, and that's just how things typically shape up. The Cardinals here. I don't really like anything left at corner. I mean, Elam's pretty good. He's definitely worth a first-round pick. You can argue for Roger McCreary, I think. Tariq Woolen. He ran a ridiculous 40. But I think this is where we see Jermaine Johnson finally come off the board out of Florida State. They need edge help pretty badly, and he's the best edge on the board. He's definitely worth a pick at 23. Definitely not at like 10 where he's ranked, though. He's a first-round guy, but I don't think he's a top 10 guy. Cowboys would probably prefer if he was still on the board, honestly. Because, again, there's nobody else really on this board that I'm extremely high on in the way of edge rushers. You could slide over to safety. I like Jaquan Brisker a lot. They could choose to go in that direction. Devontae Wyatt, DeMarvin Leal, even. I like DeMarvin Leal a lot. But what do you do at 24 if you're the Cowboys? You see, the Cowboys don't typically draft for need. I've heard that they're going to cut Amari Cooper, which is interesting. Cutting him probably means a lack of need, I would think, so I don't think that they'd do that drafting a wide receiver thing again. So what do you do if you're the Cowboys? I'm going to have them take Devontae Wyatt out of Georgia. Again, another part of that freakish Georgia defense. I don't really know what to expect from all the Georgia guys that are probably going to go in the first 2 rounds. There could be 8 defensive players from Georgia taken in the first 2 rounds. So who knows how good all of them are going to be? Could it be just a product of that defense? Who really knows? The sad thing for the Bills here is the top 3 positions they're not really in a good spot to get them at this point. This could be a point where realistically we see a team trade down. I'm going to have them take Drake London though, out of USC. Drake London is another. He's going to be a really good wide receiver at the next level. It might not be the biggest need for the Bills. I know. What was it? Did they just cut Cole Beasley? I think Cole Beasley was just released. So I could definitely see them going first round wide receiver. The Titans actually find themselves in a brilliant spot needing a linebacker because Nakobe Dean is still around and he's definitely worth a pick here. I think he's probably a top 20 player as well. That's just not a lot of the teams above him. I mean, nobody really seems to have like a top need at linebacker this year. So I could definitely see him going to 26. I do know that they just re-signed Harold Landry to a pretty big deal, but I don't really think that should affect that too much. The Buccaneers are in a great spot. I don't think they need wide receiver as much anymore because they just franchise tagged Chris Godwin, which could mean that they look to go elsewhere, but they do need a good third wide receiver, I think. That was kind of one of the issues in the playoffs. Their offense was a lot worse after Antonio Brown wasn't around. As crazy as that is. I'm going to have them take Chris Olave off the board, actually. I know he is another one of those guys that tested pretty poorly at the combine. He ran a good 40, though. I think it was just the other things. I had him as wide receiver number 1 in this class before the combine. Public perception has gotten worse since then, though. I think he's another one of those guys that has one of those low floor, high ceiling situations. He's a little bit on the smaller side as wide receivers go, but I definitely think that Chris Olave is, especially if you're a team like the Buccaneers that can afford to take a chance on a guy. I mean, you can argue Treylon Burks, but I think Chris Olave has a much higher ceiling just overall. And I think the Bucs can definitely be the team to take a chance on him here. Now, if you're the Packers, you just got Devontae Adams back. You just got Aaron Rodgers back. So you probably look... I mean, they could look at tackle here. It could be another one of those, in my opinion, like trade back situations, because they don't really seem to... like their needs don't really correspond with what's left on the board right here. I mean, they could go edge. Cameron Thomas is a solid option. If you were to go tackle, you can't. None of these guys are worth a first round grade at all, actually. So what do? You could take best available. Packers are actually, they don't typically go the best available route. They usually stick pretty true to their needs. I'm going to give them Cameron Thomas out of San Diego State. Led the league in tackles. I think he led the entire NCAA in tackles. He was an All-American. Cameron Thomas is an absolute stud. He was by far the best player on the field most games that he played over at San Diego State. That being said, he played in the Mountain West, which I think is probably the biggest knock on him. I don't know if he's worth a first-round grade, but again, the Packers draft for need most of the time, and I think they stick to that here. What do you do here if you're the Dolphins? Actually, it's pretty easy for me. I do think that a guy like Kenneth Walker is worth a first-round grade. I see Breece Hall tested very well at the Combine. But with a guy like Treylon Burks on the board, I think it's a no-brainer. I think Treylon Burks goes here. Then you're left with the Chiefs. Wide receiver, edge, safety, linebacker. Again, pretty unfortunate. I'm going to go with Daxton Hill, actually, out of Michigan here. Yeah. I mean, I think him and Jaquan Brisker are pretty neck and neck for me. They could go either way. The Chiefs, Tyrann Mathieu has made it pretty clear that he's not going to be back. They just tagged Orlando Brown. I mean, they could look at a wide receiver or an edge. There's pretty... I mean, what do we got here? I mean, Dotson is a guy that is definitely worth a first-round pick. But I think they're going to look for the defensive side of the ball here, and I'm going to have them pick Daxton Hill. Could be Jaquan Brisker. I think that's the only other contending option for me. The Bengals are actually in a great spot this late on because Zion Johnson is still around for him, or Kenyon Green. I'm going to go with Kenyon Green. I like Kenyon Green a lot in the interior. He can play, he's a guard or center kind of guy, which is always nice. And I think, for me, the Bengals, their one issue, obviously, for me, is offensive line. It was going into the season. It was before the season even started. Back when they took Jamar Chase, I criticized it. I think most people criticized it because they needed O-linemen so badly. And their O-line played pretty well overall. But against elite defensive lines, they kind of got torn apart. And that's what we saw in the Super Bowl. So I think no-brainer here, Kenyon Green. It could be Zion Johnson. I'm just personally higher on Kenyon Green as of now. If you're the Lions, I think this could definitely be Desmond Ridder. You have a chance to take him at 32. You could take a safety or a wide receiver, but none of these guys are surefire bets. It's not like you're guaranteed a better player by not picking a quarterback here. Jared Goff's contract, I'm pretty sure has an out in his contract after this year if they wanted to take it. And I think you can take a chance on a guy like Desmond Ridder. And that's what I'm going to have them do. Again, there's a lot of variables still. Like I said, this next week I'm going to be watching a lot of film. I'm going to be doing case studies by position. I should release positional rankings on these guys, like top 10 players at each position, pretty soon. I might make it like a top 15, top 20 for like the wide receivers and corners. But yeah, I mean, the thing about this class is it's definitely a pretty poor class, like quality-wise overall, compared to other classes. We've been blessed the last couple of years with really good classes, and I just don't think that's what we have here. But everybody is so much closer in talent than they have been in the past. There is no, like, clear block of players, really. I mean, like I said, these top 5 are interchangeable. All these quarterbacks, like, there's so many different players that you can argue for them to go in the first round that didn't. A lot more than I'm used to seeing. Like, it seems like all the players are so much closer this year than they have been in the past, which I find really fascinating, actually. Again, I'm sorry for taking as long a break as I did. Kind of didn't expect school to pick up as fast as it did, and I just really haven't had the time or the really, like, the want to. I'm going to be making a lot of draft content, though, until the NFL draft happens. I'm way behind where I was last year, and that's just kind of because of school, honestly. Last year, at this point, I knew, like, 3-4 rounds of players. This year, I'm not quite that far in. I know probably 100 players in the draft. Last year, I knew, like, 400, so definitely going to have to get back on my game. Anyways, I do hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully everything ran smoothly. I don't know. I'm not used to using OBS, so could have just messed everything up. Who knows? But I will see you guys in the next video of whatever I make.